Together. And as I begin, I want to let you know that we're going to be launching our campaign to finish building out there in that cornfield, to build our parish hall and our school. That's going to happen. We're going to launch that campaign on the 27th and 28th of August of this month. And on that weekend, I'll explain the whole process. I'm just giving you a heads up of how close we are to really moving forward. And I'm so excited because we need to move forward. We need to move forward. We need those buildings. We need that school and education center there. And speaking of school, I'm so glad we have a school. There are schools. And many of our youth and children are going back to school this week. I just want to offer a prayer for them. But school is so important. So I'm so glad that we have one. When Jesus was about to ascend to heaven, think of this scene. He's resurrected from the dead. He's about to ascend to heaven. He's going home, and he's going to commission the apostles. He says to them, "All power in heaven and earth has been given to me, and so I send you. Go out to all nations, make them my disciples, and teach them all that I have taught you. Baptize them." So within the command of Christ to evangelize the nations is, teach them all that I have commanded you. And thus the church has been in the middle of education for our whole history, hasn't it? That's why it's so important. And when you have a Catholic school, we're free to teach literally all that Christ has commanded. Isn't that a special thing? Jesus lets us know that there's a lot of conflict around the gospel. That's what we heard today in this gospel reading. So what is our response? Because we all know what that's like, don't we? We all know. How many of us in our own families where half of us believe this and half of us believe that? Not all of us are all on the same page. It's difficult. It's hard to be a believer. It's hard to be a Christian. So I want to offer something to you, and it's really coming from the preaching of Pope Francis right now, of what we can do to really help bring the world together. There's a lot of talk in the world, especially in a political year. There's a lot of talking at each other. It's fine. Words have their place. But I think what Pope Francis is reminding us of, he's not making it up, it's coming from Christ, but what Pope Francis is trying to call us to do as a church is maybe not use so many words right now, but to speak loudly through profound charity and action. Again, there's nothing wrong with using words, okay? Don't get me wrong. But what Pope Francis is asking us to do right now is this. Let us live and witness to mercy and charity. And that will speak at a louder volume than all of the arguments. Am I making sense? For us to commit ourselves to a profound mercy and charity in joy to one another in this world. That approach softens and opens people's heart to the message. When we sometimes just begin with the message, people don't want to hear it. How many of us have had that experience before? I want to talk to you about, this issue of faith. I don't want to hear it. But when we approach people with great love and mercy and joy, their heart relaxes. There's a bond that begins to form, and now they become open to what you say. I think that's what Pope Francis is getting at. There's a wonderful organization in this parish that can help all of us live that in a deeper way, and it's the St. Vincent de Paul Society. Any of you heard of St. Vincent de Paul? You've heard of that? Okay. I want to share with you a little bit about that because this could be a wonderful way for some of us to grow deeper in holiness and in charity. A college student, some of you are going off to college, a college student in the 1800s in France, a man named Blessed Frederick Ozanam. He's going to school and he's studying, but he just has this unsettled feeling that, gosh, my life is meant to be about more than what I'm pursuing right now. I want my life to be about something profound. I really want my life to be meaningful and I want to be an agent of change for the good in the world. Any of you ever have that feeling in your heart where you want your life to be about something wonderful in the world? I think a lot of us have felt that before, haven't we? And Frederick had that feeling, and it was so strong in him that he gathered around himself some fellow students, and they began to go deeper in their faith. And what Frederick Ozanam did is he realized that his life was to be about holiness through charity. And so he created a little society of people who'd want to come together, and they were mostly all young people. And they gathered together, and they began to go deep in their spiritual life. But they didn't just pray. Their spiritual life was intimately linked with acts of charity. And they used as their mentor St. Vincent de Paul, who was a saint from several centuries before them. And he started the Sisters of Charity. And this young group of men, they committed themselves to a deep spiritual life, but that spiritual life was fed through works of charity, and specifically caring for the needs of the poor. The St. Vincent de Paul Society is a group of people who are dedicated to growing in holiness through charity. And I would like all of you just to learn a bit more about that and maybe prick your interest in that. What's great about the Society of St. Vincent de Paul is that you can grow in holiness through charity while still being a family person. You don't have to go join the Missionaries of Charity with Mother Teresa. You don't have to go become a Franciscan. The idea with the brilliance behind the St. Vincent de Paul Society is I can connect myself with a bit of structure. Sometimes we need that in our lives, don't we? We need a little bit of structure, a little bit of accountability, someone to kind of guide me along. But yet, I can still have my career, my family, I can do these things. It's just enough structure that moves me to grow in holiness through charity. And that's the important thing. It's holiness through charity, that they're not mutually exclusive. And I think we'll find as we look at Jesus in the gospel, he models this brilliantly for us, that the way we grow in holiness is not apart from the actions of our lives. That we grow in holiness not apart from the actions of our lives, but with our actions. Do you want to be holy? I do. Then we have to live it. St. Vincent de Paul Society does a lot of wonderful things. They run the thrift store downtown, and all of that money from the thrift store goes right back into the community. They help those who are in need. They run a wonderful food bank. They assist people who are in need. A lot of people come to the church for help. And the St. Vincent de Paul Society is the arm of our church to help these people when they're in need. And the St. Vincent de Paul Society actually needs help. There's more need than we have help to give right now through that arm. So I'd like you to think about how you might be able to assist the St. Vincent de Paul Society. But most of all, I want you to see it, though, from the perspective of growing in holiness. That part of your path of holiness might be assisting the St. Vincent de Paul Society. And you can do that in a simple way. Maybe volunteering a little bit each week to help in the store or to help pick up food at the food bank. You don't have to commit yourself to this 9 hours a day every day. And you might not be in a place right now where you can do it, but maybe in 2 or 3 or 4 years you can keep that in mind. Or even simple things like that thrift store thrives on our donations of our goods that they sell. So maybe instead of putting that sofa on Craigslist, you take it down to St. Vincent de Paul and you offer it up, and that money now goes to serve the community. There's lots of ways in which we can do that. But ultimately, I just wanted to offer that to you, and I want to thank all of you who are already doing so many things. And there's many of you who are involved in so much good, and I thank you for that. I just want us to today again to think about how Jesus models holiness in charity. Picture with me a scene of Jesus walking into a village. He's coming, and he did that all the time, didn't he? He just went from village to village. Picture Jesus walking into a village, and I want you to pray through this at some point. Meditate on it. Jesus walking into this village. What is Jesus thinking as he comes into the village? What does Jesus notice when he comes into the village? What grabs his attention when he comes into the village? Where is Jesus going to focus his time and energy as he comes into that village? What's he made aware of as he's in that village? What motivates his action? My guess, through looking at Jesus and studying him in the scriptures, when he came into a town, he immediately began to take note of where is the greatest need. Because that's where I am going to go. Because he is the Savior. And the Savior is one who comes in love to raise up the lowly. Now, Jesus is amazing because that's how he lived. But he's invited us to follow him, hasn't he? Each in our own way. And the St. Vincent de Paul Society is one way in which we do that. And there's lots of other ways in which we can do that too. And I'll be talking about more of our wonderful ministries as the year goes on. But let's listen and hear Pope Francis calling to all of the church from his place in Rome. In the midst of all of the yelling and shouting in the world, everyone trying to make their point, that their argument's the best, that their philosophy should be the one enacted. Especially in this political year, it's what it's about, isn't it? No, it's my way. No, it's my way. No, my way is all this. That's fine. In the midst of that, Pope Francis is saying, let's be like Jesus. Let's just walk into the village, just start serving people. Start loving people in a more profound way. And that will speak with a volume way above all of the arguing. And it will touch people's hearts in a profound way, just like Jesus did. So God bless you as all of us as we go forth to care for the needs of our community, and especially as we begin a big building project. Let's not forget that our primary ministry is not on this campus, but is out in this village. Take care of those whom God has sent us. God bless you.